Okay, so who wants to make an opening statement first?
Yeah. Apparently there are none of the kibitzers have shown up in the chat so far. So, oh well.
So there's one person viewing.
What's that?
So there's one person viewing.
Yeah, I'm not too sure how that works because I don't see anybody having shown up in the chat or anything. So if there's like one person up here,
Yeah.
Viewer details, and there isn't any. Oh well, it's just an anomaly of how this particular automation runs its thing.
So, yeah, there we go. No, I put something in the chat.
Okay. Oh, okay. So you're in there.
You have to invite people to do it.
Yeah, I've been just a teeny bit under the weather the last few days, which is kind of a drag to have, but there we are.
1 second, I'm going to go through this. I'm going to throw I have the URL now, so I'm going to throw it up in Facebook and a couple other places real quick, just to try and get some people to come in.
Oh yeah.
Cool. Let's see,
yeah, thank you for the advertising up front there. It's good stuff.
Let's see. And next. And post. Cool. Blow this up again. So there we go. Just put that up on there. Hopefully that'll get some people here.
Yeah, I don't know how well I come across for your sound. It sounds like the room acoustics have a serious influence in where.
Yeah, I'm not in the best. I'm not in the best setup right now. I'm looking for an apartment right now, so I'm kind of couch surfing. I'm staying with friends, so I don't have my setup that I usually have. So, hopefully it's not too bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, buffer everything. And I will try to talk slower than I usually do because of that. Okay. Because normally I talk at a really high pace like this. Yep. So we're gonna try to make my opening statement, or
yeah, if you want to start in, and we'll launch it. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Here we go. So my opening statement is right here. Let me just. I wrote it down because it's easier for me to keep the flow going. We're going to try and get it under 3.5 minutes. There are numerous disputed and controversial claims surrounding the events of 9/11. Hundreds of suspicious anomalies ranging from the video timestamps of alleged hijackers boarding the planes to Larry Silverstein's last-minute terrorism insurance coverage upgrade to official reports of connected cell phone calls at cruising altitude of 35,000 feet, well above any coverage zone, and even the recovery of invulnerable and undamaged passports. Each of these points is debated, and while we agree they warrant further investigation, none are simple or universally accepted as definitive evidence of anything. Now, for those calling for a new investigation, the core demand is for an inquiry that is independent, fully empowered, totally transparent, and free from conflicts of interest. To achieve this, I argue that the movement must unify under a single, clear, and easily understood point, one that is as grounded in accepted scientific principles as it is easy to explain and prove using the evidence at hand. That argument is the theory of gravity and the core concept of free fall. Since time of Galileo, it has been understood that on this planet in a vacuum, objects accelerate downward at 9.8 meters per second squared due to gravity. Observation of the collapses of the World Trade Center buildings, specifically the two towers in World Trade Center 7, proved that the structures atop those buildings descended at free fall acceleration. This is verifiable by hundreds of timestamp video recordings, the seismographic records publicly available at Columbia EDU, and of course the U.S. government's own official reporting on the events of that day. The National Institute of Standards and Technology, NIST, reported that WTC-7 experienced just over 2 seconds of free fall acceleration during its collapse. It's also true that in normal atmospheric conditions, falling objects are affected by air resistance, which limits their speed. This means that in atmosphere, falling objects can only achieve their terminal velocity. They can never achieve free fall velocity. Terminal velocity of an object falling through air is reached when the upward drag force equals the downward force of gravity, resulting in a constant speed. When viewing each tower's destruction sequence, one can clearly see the blast pattern traveling down the face of the towers faster than debris falling outside the building perimeters. Materials within travel at free fall speed, while the objects outside the perimeter only achieve their terminal velocity due to being affected by their atmospheric resistance. In the official explanation of 9/11, this is never mentioned or taken into account. There's only one documented mechanism that can make a building behave in this way, and that is the implosion of controlled demolition. During controlled demolition, the support structure is destroyed by explosives, and in that process, the explosives remove the atmosphere within the building, rendering it into a vacuum, which then pulls the walls in on top of the destroyed structure, neatly piling it up within its own perimeter exactly in the way that WTC-7 came down. The explosives had to be installed and wired prior to the plane collisions and detonated intentionally by an expert demolition engineer for this to happen. This means that any official story which fails to account for this fact pattern is void. We need a new and proper and fully empowered investigation. 9/11 changed everything. We need to know what happened. Let justice be done. That the pillars of heaven fall. When they fall, nobody will not fall at free fall speed without explosives in place prior to the event. So every other argument, such as the planes versus no planes argument we're about to debate, is a distraction that is keeping us from getting the investigation we need. Every suspicious anomaly needs to be cataloged and added to the investigation phase of the process. But only one anomaly is simple and irrefutable enough to get us to that phase of the much delayed, but more necessary than ever, justice for 9/11. So, do you still want to debate this, the planes for no planes hypothesis, or you want to go for it on the logical, simple, and effective war cry argument and march me towards the achievable goal of justice for all of us? That's my opening statement.
Cool. I I don't dispute the fact that the buildings had to have been brought down by controlled demolition. However, it is relevant to the entire big picture because the concept of there having been allegedly airliners hijacked and used as weapons is the very foundation for the DHS department, the intrusive searches at airports, the whole 9 yards, and it bears revealing that there could not possibly have been airplanes in that particular position. And I wanted to start out with some stills because I'm really leery of attempting to do a video at this point. I've had my machine crash any number of times on this sort of thing. And let's see, is this share? Okay, the window. Okay, there is a sort of an anomaly with the share screen fiasco here. Okay, there is.
If your machine does crash, I'll just stay in the chat and you can be able to rejoin it, so we don't have to interfere with anything. So if you disappear, I'll just stay in.
All right. Let's see here. This right here. Yeah, this is where I want it to be. Need to put that down. Go into this one window. Share from there. Yeah, this right here. Now, this is from a document that is called NC Star 1-2B. It shows the conditions that were allegedly in place at the time of the alleged airplane crash.
I'm getting your Explorer, not an actual image, just the directory of the images.
Oh, I'm not doing, okay. Let me see here. This is really weird. Oh, this is getting. So yeah, what I was showing the first time was simply the directory of images, not the
exactly.
not the whole thing. That is tweaked. Just a second here. This is being slightly problematic. It comes of not having the technology together here. Window. Okay, share that. And that doesn't give me what I want. That is, stop sharing here. I thought I had this nailed down as far as what was supposed to happen here, and it's not giving me what I want.
What are you seeing when you click the share screen button? Is it giving you the options of different windows, or
and then for the window, however,
is there an option that shows your entire screen? That would probably be the easiest way to do it.
So what's an option for what now?
You're showing your entire desktop, like your screen. Is there an option for that?
Yeah.
I'm not sure here.
Yeah, that doesn't
Just,
do.
let me take a look at it from mine and see what share screen looks like. Share screen. Oh yeah, you can just click window. See the window or entire screen. Do you see where at the top where it says choose what to share with Blasted Reality Substack? You can put
Well,
in Chrome tab, window, and entire screen. Just do entire screen.
okay, do entire screen here.
If that way the video will show.
Share that. And this comes up, except that that's not where I need to be.
How many monitors do you have?
I have, there's actually 2 monitors here. So
Okay,
let me put this over here.
perfect.
Okay, so that shows up. Crazy. So anyway, yeah. I don't know how to make this bigger because
the little square button next to the blue button at the very top.
Square.
Yeah,
Like
there you go.
well, this fills out pretty well, but what's really weird is it appears that I have just sort of a limited window in here where the text is going to turn out to be kind of small. But to basically explain what's going on here in this particular table on the NC Star 1-2B document that was produced by the NIST, under the column for UAL 175, which was the alleged WTC2 or South Tower hit, it explains that there was impact speed 542 miles per hour, plus or minus 24 miles per hour. And also the vertical approach angle is 6 degrees off of horizontal, and the lateral approach angle, which would be the yaw dimension in this, being 15 degrees plus or minus 2 degrees clockwise from structure north. And critically, the lateral fuselage orientation, which is basically the difference between the true direction of travel and the longitudinal axis of the plane. And I don't mean to get terribly detailed here down in the weeds as far as the technical details, but this 3 degrees clockwise from lateral approach angle is significant in that if there was said to be buku megajoules of energy available at the point of impact, because there would have to be resistance. Just slamming into a skyscraper wall is going to be significant resistance different relative to simply flying in air. And that difference is going to manifest itself in the energy needing to go somewhere. If the center of mass of the plane is 3 degrees different than straight on to the direction of the travel of the plane, there is going to be asymmetrical forces acting on the plane. And this is a critical feature. This sort of thing will tear a plane apart before it has the opportunity to actually penetrate. And the idea of in a cartoon that was produced for public consumption by the Purdue University people who conveniently lost all the source code for this, but the cartoon shows an airplane with the nose imposing itself on a skyscraper wall, and the skyscraper wall, as much as just parts, it just falls away in response to the nose so much as touching the wall. It just goes right in. And this is a cartoon. This is not real. What would have to be real would be in terms of the nose contacting the wall having some amount of resistance, some inertia in and of itself to stay put and not move in response to the nose hitting it. And in approximately the first 8 feet of the nose would have to crush itself against the wall without penetration. And the shock of that would be devastating to the plane. I cite an example in automotive crash tests. People can see an automobile crashed into, say, a fixed obstacle at 30 miles per hour, and it appears that all the damage is in the front of the front of the car, and they say, "Oh yes, the rest of the car was totally unaffected, and therefore," but not so fast. If there were in the trunk of said car a box of glassware. And in terms of slamming into a wall, as the crash test dictates, that box of glassware would most certainly be busted up. These shock events have repercussions throughout a structure that is of a piece, and airliners are a monocoque construction that is of a piece, where causing a shock to the nose will transmit all the way to the tail, and things will break. It's amazing to have people, not question the official story about the plane crashes in that manner. But anyway, I think I've pretty much used up my 3.5 minutes here, and I will put this back. And
I'll leave it up for a second. Just leave it up for a second.
oh, okay. If you're reading, go for it.
I'm gonna go for this. So, like, the difference, the automobile one is still, I'm saying it's a totally different type of vehicle, totally different type of design and structure. So the powertrain of it alone is going to cause multiple effects in the tail of the vehicle. You have solid steel hitting it, and there's very little that's going to break the motor, the big block, the block engine, transmission, the drivetrain, the axles, and also the frame of the vehicle. There's going to be effect from front to back on that one, because, especially at 30 miles an hour, because the steel is not going to be immediately affected all throughout it. The steel runs from front to back. Whereas in an airplane, it's aluminum airframe. So it's a completely different structure. But not only that, it's also, the structure is, now you can stop sharing screen for a second if you would.
Right. Let me go back to right there. Yeah.
So the basic, let me see if I can find this. I'm just going to read these up. So what we're talking about, the entire point of penetration was like 0.185 seconds. So it's under 0.2 of a second for the plane to go into the building. And it didn't go to the building as a solid object. It didn't penetrate as a solid object. Instead, it penetrated as a fluid for the most part. For the wings alone, for every 1 pound of structure there was in the wings, there's 1.4 pounds of fuel. So the plane was full of fuel. Yeah. Every body in there was also a fluid upon impact. So I have the masses here. It's let me bring this up real quick. Let's see, where do you go? Share screen right there. Just share everything. Share entire screen. Yeah, why not? Hopefully I don't have anything bad on here. Entire screen. Share. Make this go bye-bye. Okay, let's make that go away. Okay, where the hell is that?
What you've done.
Yes. I'll be off that in 1 second. Sorry about that. Trying to find it real quick. It is right. Where do you go? Right here. I have it right here. Good. Cool. Bing. There we go. Hope that's not it. Damn it. That's me bragging about how many people I have here. Okay, I just lost it. Oh, I had it. Oh, no, that's right. I have this one right here. Sorry. So these are some of the basics of it. So, I don't know if you can see that. So the operational weight is 185,000 pounds. The fuel at impact was 61,000 pounds. Passenger and crew another 12,000 pounds. Cargo 27,000 pounds. We don't know what the cargo is exactly, but what we're dealing with here is fluid dynamics, not aerodynamics or anything else at that point. Thermodynamics upon penetration, because the wings, the inertia of the wings, are going to carry them straight forward. 3% off of the when you get 3% twist off the nose isn't going to change anything, because planes fly fundamentally like arrows, so it's going to follow that trajectory straight on through. There's nothing to really change it.
If the trajectory is indeed deviated 3 degrees off of the longitudinal axis, we could debate the nits on this all night, but the factor is that the center of mass was not behind the nose up at the point of contact.
What is going to transfer the damage from the front to the back on that point? If you have an engine, you have a plane running into a building in less than 0.2 of a second, what's exactly going to transfer the structure? What exactly is going to transfer the damage to the back? Come on, leave. No, I don't want to leave. I want to stop sharing.
I'm not too sure if you have pondered the particular nit in this whole thing. However, here's in a nutshell how it works. If indeed, in terms of either crushing the first 8 feet of the nose against the wall, or punching a hole in the wall, or moving mass of the plane through into the wall, there is energy consumed. And in that energy consumption, it amounts to a reduction in speed of the plane. That reduction in speed, if in the same effect as if you were traveling in a car like 90 miles an hour down the highway, and you had to slam on the brakes and hit a panic stop kind of situation, everybody is going to pull, get the effect of leaning forward into their seatbelts, because there's that deceleration that happens.
It's
In
not
terms of
deceleration, though, is
slamming
it?
into a wall at 540 miles per hour, that deceleration force is going to be big enough to break things. Things that were bolted down inside the plane are going to bust loose from their mounts and move. And
How much do you expect to get in 1.85 seconds? 0.185 seconds. I mean, how much?
things will happen extremely fast. The
That's right, but it should be.
shock will propagate through the structure of the plane at the speed of sound through metal, which in terms of the 150-foot long aircraft is approximately 15 microseconds. So, and I stand corrected, 15 milliseconds. However, in 15 milliseconds, it is, this allows all sorts of leeway in time to go, okay, the shock has happened. The shock has actually propagated through the entirety of the plane, and things are going to start breaking. And in terms of a reduction, if the reduction were so much as 30 miles per hour in 15 milliseconds, what you get is a 90 G jolt. That means that a piece of carry-on luggage that might weigh 22 pounds then exerts a ton of force against whatever's in front of it. And the internal destructive forces that will happen in the plane are going to be devastating. The idea that a plane would fly, and there's a still image taken from one of the Michael Hazakani video or some such, where it is shown that the alleged Flight 175 is half embedded in the wall, such as that the port side wing is already in the wall and the starboard side wing is still out, and the whole thing is sitting there as if there has been no deviation in attitude or anything. And that picture alone proves that the whole story is a hoax. It's fraud.
No, if you look at the message, this is what I'm saying. It's going very, very fast. It's totally destroyed. It's being totally destroyed. I mean, it's being shredded upon hitting the wall completely. It's being rendered into a hydrodynamic, fluid dynamic mass to push through everything. It's not the reason I showed the F4 Phantom video with you was because that's a plane hitting a solid cement block. There's no place for it to go in penetration.
Can I point out something, please, about the F4 thing? There's a huge difference. The difference is that in the F4 example, the experimenters lined up that F4 exactly perpendicular to the concrete block. In the example of the alleged Flight 175, there is no dimension that you can measure that is perpendicular to the wall upon crashing. And that difference is a huge difference when you're talking about the sort of forces involved.
You're talking about 3 degrees off of perpendicular.
No, I'm not talking 3 degrees off. I'm talking a 15 degrees yaw, where if the plane managed to crush its nose against the wall or push in or do whatever you say it did, and the port side wing touches the wall significantly before the starboard side wing, the asymmetrical forces generated would cause the plane to split up and be a mass of little pieces.
Where's the mass of the plane? Where's the mass of the plane as it enters the building? Where's the mass? Where's the bulk of the mass? The wing. The wings and the body of the plane are the bulk of the mass. The nose portion is insignificant upon hitting it. So the wings themselves, with that much fuel in them, is going to carry it into the wall without any pushback. The materials are just material strength. It's you keep bringing up car examples. Why not?
Well, you're talking material strength.
Material strength is aluminum versus steel. At those speeds, everything is just turned into literally a fluid dynamic. The front is going to let you that.
Can I bring something up here?
Okay.
If you've ever tried to pour salt through a funnel, and the small end of the funnel, it's possible to pour fast enough to jam that up so that nothing's moving because you've poured too fast.
If you shot salt through that funnel at 542 miles per hour, it better take you to go through that really fast.
Here's the deal. I personally have operated machine tools. Here's the gig. There's a process called extrusion.
Yes.
Extrusion typically goes at some centimeters per second of feed rate. If you try and push material through the dies too fast, you run the risk of jamming the machine up so nothing moves. You run the risk of damaging tools. It's that way.
Industrial extrusion. This is not industrial extrusion. This is, the towers are basically 50% open space, 50% structural steel.
Here's the deal. In the wall structure, the windows are only 40 or actually less than 40% of the area. There's more than 60% of the wall is steel structure. And in terms of the alleged hollow space, the floor to ceiling in any given tower, the floor to ceiling is about 12 feet, whereas the airliner itself is approximately 18 feet diameter tube. So you're cramming an 18-foot diameter tube into a space that's 12 feet top to bottom. There's so much that is going to be resistance, that is going to be continuous, ongoing resistance that's going to resist.
These rooms, okay, the difference between 40 and 60, I don't think that's significant. I said approximately 50-50, but okay. The space, you're turning an 18-foot tall vehicle and shoving it through, but it's going to hit the upper floor, middle floor, bottom floor, so it's going to hit 3 floors if it's perfectly even in the center. Whatever it hits, you're still talking about like an industrial extrusion where you're making wire or something, you're pushing mass through something at a controlled level. You're taking something, rendering it into fluid and spraying it to the path of least resistance. That's not extrusion. That's going right through.
No, in terms of rendering it into fluid, this is going to require lots of energy.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Where do you think that energy is coming from? Because the only source of energy is to slow down the plane.
3.5 billion joules of energy upon impact. Come on, that's enough to do it.
How many
billion joules of energy? That's what the plane hit the ball with.
Is that documented anywhere?
Yes, documented in many places.
You're
also breaking out by working out the actual math, just by working out the velocity.
I would like, if any academic has actually done some work on this area, I would very much like to see it, because I'm very curious about this. Because in terms of destroying some part of the plane and rendering it fluid and having it just go through the openings, first of all, just busting into windows in a skyscraper is a non-trivial event. These windows are not the thin plate glass you might expect in ground floor windows in a residence. These windows above 30 floors up are seriously thick glass that are mounted in mounts that are designed to very seriously hold them in place, because the World Trade Center has had to endure storm conditions where storm winds have imposed upon the World Trade Center, and those windows didn't blow out. So it takes a significant amount of pushing to get that window to bust out of its place where it is. And using energy like that then involves, let's cause a slowing down of the plane. Now, there is not a actual visible slowing down of the plane on any of the videos. The Michael Hizakami video or the Evan Fairbanks video do not show a visible slowing down of the plane. And that alone is a extremely telling item.
See, I think it's not visually slowing it down the plane in the extent of like the human eye speed. It's picking it up in 0.2 of a second.
Well,
and like I said, there's no structure like a drive train or powertrain to push back, to get back. There's no structure of the plane. It's actually a solid, continuous, like steel object. So yeah, the wings are going to keep carrying the body of the plane forward at the inertia, because they're holding most of the mass. So there's not going to be any slowing down before the wings hit. And from the point where the wings hit to the rest of the plane going in is 0.1 of a second. So you're not going to see anything. You're not going to see a slowing down of that.
If there was sufficient time and energy available to cause the plane to virtually liquefy and then go into the building as just flowing in through these window openings as you described, there would most certainly be energy. There would certainly have to be the manifestation of that energy utilization in the slowing down of the plane, and in not only in the slowing down of the plane, but in the changing of attitude of the plane. You're saying that the debate ranges back and forth. Is 3 degrees sufficient to cause a change in attitude as the plane strikes the tower? And my interpretation of this is that it is more than sufficient to cause a change in attitude. And the difference herein is if just at the moment that it shifts at all, if there is even a half a degree of shift in terms of the plane not being straight on, that will multiply because it changes the vector, it changes the position of where the force actually is relative to the center of mass of the plane. And once you start that process, it's just going to swing the tail over and smash sideways into the building. And kind of given the slew rates on these things, it will bust up the plane even before it has any chance of getting in.
I don't know.
I would like to see if there is any, if any academic has actually covered this. I would be most, willing to look at whatever there is, because this is a sort of, I have many years of having worked with machine tools and the like, and the idea that I have a darn good grasp of applied physics, but I'm willing to be corrected. And if there is an academic who has actually looked at and say, examine the vectors and see where this is all going, I would I'd really like to see it.
I don't think I don't believe that there's any academics actually published on these topics, just because they'd be too worried about losing their grants. So I don't think you're going to find that academics can do it. Look what happened to Stephen Jones. I mean, he was the dean of BYU when he published, and his How Did the Towers What Brought Down the Towers paper is mathematically solid, and he's been completely ostracized, destroyed his career. Everything's been taken apart. The guy from University of Fairbanks, Alaska, his paper he released that as he was retiring. So it's kind of like the old astronomers who would release posthumously.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. It was Dr. Halsey in Alaska that did that study, and it's really unfortunate that sort of thing happens.
So you're not going to get an academic to do it. But I'm trying to find out where we actually did work this out. I used School of Gemini to try and work the math out completely on the whole thing, and just work out the joules and all that stuff. I'm just trying to find it real quick. Someplace.
If you actually have a link to that sort of thing,
I'm trying to find that right now.
Yeah, feel free to put the link either in the chat or put the link in a message to me on Substack, and this.
Okay. This is not correct. Let's see. That's not it. That's not it. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so let's see. I think I just found it. So let's go here. Let me share screen real quick.
Okay.
Yep. Give me 1 second. Share screen. I'm going to share entire screen. It'll be easier. Your screen, and this one, and share, and let's get back over to this thing right here. We're going to just go. Sorry, I'll make that infinity disappear in just a second. Okay.
Yeah, given the proportions in the screen and everything, the text is unreadable where you're at, because this is.
You can't read it?
No, it's too tiny. What I think would be expedient would be to go ahead and provide. Either provide a link to that, or if you just have like text in a file or something.
Yeah, I can copy all the text out and stuff.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can we're going to try and find a couple things just to reference this stuff, and then I'll put the link in there.
Okay.
I'm gonna just share it, but yeah, I basically took it through with math, because I'm fairly long time since out of college, so worked up to physics, and so I went with Gemini to help me with the math. But let's see. Actually, this is not the whole thing, isn't? No, it's not the whole thing. That's where I got confused. Trying to find it, but yeah. Yeah, so maybe you can't see it, but the result, even its fastest at this point, the upward force of the air against the building was
Well, we have 3 people have joined as apparently observers here. So
how many people?
three. We have an audience of three. Wow, man. Fascinating. I do hope more people catch up with the sort of the post.
Hmm?
Well, there will be a recording of this that we can then make available to our subscribers if you want to do that. Wow. Oh well.
Oh. You want to go with your closing statement?
Basic closing statement being that the document that is the NC Star 1-2B has within it indications that, at least according to the official report, mass was moved in terms of actually making a hole in either tower, the north or south tower. Were these holes big enough to accommodate an airliner? Is all that real? It is debate back and forth, but the real bottom line to where I'm coming from is, in terms of the nose of an airplane contacting a wall at 540 miles per hour, the official pictures on the subject show no jolt of deceleration, show no initial disintegration of the first 8 feet of the nose, such that there would be tons of wreckage falling down the side of the building. There's a number of anomalies that don't point to there having been an airplane. And my personal objection to this entire thing is that because people point to, oh, but airliners were hijacked and used as weapons on 9/11, therefore we have a thing called the Patriot Act, which I call the Patriot Unnatural Act, and the whole 9 yards of everybody gets frisked at the airport, and it's not necessary. I'm shocked that America is putting up with this crap, because first of all, the Patriot Act was crammed through as a piece of legislation, not as a constitutional amendment, and yet it directly affects the implementation of the Fourth Amendment, which is egregious if nothing else. So the reason why I'm so adamant about the whole thing, and yes, I do agree with you totally that the towers and 7 had to have come down because of a demolition job, not they didn't just fall down because they were on fire or something. So that's an agreed upon. The only other part of this is the significance of the planes, no planes argument, because I think to have an entire government agency like the Department of Homeland Security, and how bizarre does that sound? Department of Homeland Security.
Really creepy.
Yeah, but yeah. So I'm that's kind of like my personal pet peeve about the whole thing, is when airport security first started doing what they were doing, and parents were going, oh, they're touching our children, and they were frisking kids on the way into their flights, and then they developed this whole thing with the X-ray machines and all that, and it's a crock. It is. Intrusive searches are intrusive searches any way you cut it, and it's not necessary. So just my bit on the subject, and have a groovy one. So
I get my feelings. I mean, first off, like, what do you think on that one? It's different. Like the TSA. Let's put it this way. I made that 9/11 flick that I've shared with you. I made that. I released it back in 2005. So ever since then, I have not been on the do not fly list, but I have been on the do fist list. You know what that means? I have to get to an airport 6 hours before I got on a flight. I have to expect to be with TSA custody for at least 4 hours while they search every part of me, like literally.
Wow.
Yeah, no, look up, and there's people, like, especially like January 6th. A lot of the January 6th people are complaining about the insane stuff they have to deal with on planes. I'm like, I've been dealing with this since 2005, like literally. But I actually solved the problem once by I was flying from I think it was from Portland to Albuquerque. One way, the Albuquerque, Portland, Albuquerque, in 2007 or 8, and I got a layover in Kansas City, and I went out and smoked a cigarette and went back into security, knowing they were going to grab me, but I had like an 8-hour layover and I was bored and I was drunk, so I was like, let's see what happens. So they took me back, did the whole thing, but as we're coming back out, this this gigantic Nazi TSA agent literally is walking me back to the cordon. And he's sitting there, and I'm watching him, and he's looking down at his hand, he's like smug look on his face, because the dude just literally raped me with his hand back behind there. I mean, they did body cavity search. So I'm looking at him, and I'm looking, he's just sitting there all proud. And right as he pulls the cordon back, I leaned into him like this, and looked up at him and went, I'm gonna be flying back through in like a week and a half. Can I see you again? Because you were the best. Then I started walking. I looked back after about 100 feet down the concourse, and he was still standing in the same spot looking at his hand like this.
Oh.
So if he didn't kill himself that night, he definitely cut his hand off that night. And no problem. Like literally the next flight I caught was a few months later from Portland back to Albuquerque. And when I showed up, I mean, it's like 10 o'clock at night, but Portland's a 24-hour airport. I show up there, see them doing TSAs, doing all their stuff. I check in, I look back, and there's nobody in the security section. But I wandered around there for like 5 minutes going, hey, anybody going to search me or anything? Nope. And then walked down the concourse to my plane. They cleared the place out because the guy probably went home and killed himself. But yeah, so that's how if you're going to face torture and that stuff, learn how to like it because it'll fuck him up even worse. It's a horrible way to do it, but it's reality. It is what it is. But no, my main argument is this. I know people that were on the ground in New York and 9/11. They saw a plane, so they don't think the government was going to put the effort into making holograms that could fool people in real life. I have video evidence that was directly sent to me from the person who recorded it that shows the plane. Also, Operation Northwoods, which is what 9/11 was. It was Operation Northwoods. That was the plan done again. Operation Northwoods involved planes full of people crashing into stuff because there's no reason for the government not to just kill people because they don't mind killing people. Like I can't. Okay, the flight that hit the Pentagon, I think that was probably a cruise missile. The flight that hit Indiana or wherever, who knows what the hell that was. And the first flight, I have some real issues with the way the explosion seemed to reach out to meet the plane. And the only one video we have. But on Flight 175, I'm certain they flew a plane in the building. It's easier, cheaper, more. It's a simpler thing for them to do. I don't think there was a pilot flying it. I think it was the home run program, which was installed all the planes back in the 90s. That allows them to take complete control of the aircraft anytime they want to and fly it at a massive drop to get the acceleration to go into the building. But I just think that the argument itself is going to be debatable by people. I mean, we're talking about 3% off. We're talking about these small things in tenths of a second at a time. I don't think we're going to see anything visibly happen. But the main argument I have is that this is all like we could bring up a billion different things. There's so many anomalies. It's not even funny. They fucked up in every way they possibly could when they did this. The fact that there's still anyone who believes the official story is mind-boggling to me. But that's just we're chemically shackled from the fluoride in the water, from everything else. We're educationally shackled. They've been trying to keep us from having critical thinking for years, and it just inundates us with the propaganda. So yeah, there's some people out there that never looked into it, never thought about it. Anybody that sees Building 7 go down says it's controlled demolition. Everybody who sees it go down. So I just think that the primary argument, this argument of planes, no planes, is not. It's a distraction from the bigger argument of just we need to come up with one unifying point that we can say easily, say quickly, and let me search one more time real quick, and just and this is why again this is basically the advertising campaign is just this. I think is what we should be going with. Sorry, 1 second. Here and then that real quick. Sorry, 1 second.
Oops.
Yeah, no. Let me just blow this up to that. That stops happening. Let's go back to here. Let's go back to here. Let's go back to where to go? Oh, I had it right here just a second ago. Did I lose it? I put up the notes and stuff. Let me just try and go infinity for one more second and then back away from infinity. Sorry, upsets that thing. I gotta stay off that one. Right there. I've already accepted, so I need to get away from that. Let's see, is it gonna keep popping up there?
Technology groovy.
As it is. Let's go to here. Let's go to best reality. Notes and then this one right here. This is basically the argument that I think that the 9/11 truth movement needs to take up. Just because on this planet, a rooftop can't fall through steel building as fast as it falls through a vacuum. That's the argument.
I'm completely with you on that. So, as far as the conclusion of this, there's I don't know about how the sort of public relations advertising campaign, whatever it needs to go. I would like to believe that the masses, the people who are the ultimate consumers of all the information that's needed for all this, have the capacity to embrace two different facets of the same event at the same time, and that being that, yes, the buildings were a controlled demolition, and yes, the airliners have something seriously wrong with them in that be it if it was a missile, if it was a radio controlled airplane that was made to go into the building, or however it was done. But a commercial airliner doing what was allegedly done is out of the question. And that's just my position on the thing.
My position is that at least in Flight 175, it's possible. It's the theoretical limits of the capabilities, but it's possible. But then again, it's like I said, it's such a small point in a very large point. I think when I first made that movie, I would go in with the DVD and I'd play it in bars, and I'd literally have to fight my way out of bars, even though I've never seen it. But I don't ever say anything in the video. I don't ever make any statements. It's just video footage, and then some controlled demolitions at the end, and then a Bill Hicks joke at the very end. And I would have to fight my way to bars, and people were like, "What the hell are you trying to say?" I'm like, "Well, you watched it. What am I trying to say? That's your cognitive dissonance bothering you. It's not anything. I'm just showing you stuff that you saw on day one, you didn't see the rest of the time. So that's deal with it yourselves." But that compared to nowadays, where like COVID was that's what broke the belief system. That's what broke. Prior to COVID, I would say there's no way they would ever get any actual traction on anything because people just don't want to believe that the government can be that evil. Now everybody's lost somebody to the COVID scam. Everybody's lost a loved one to it. They've been shot by the treatments, by the remdesivir, by something. I think that right now the country is willing to accept, just push on 9/11 truth. Some even go, because now people are willing to accept the fact that the government is fucking pure evil. I mean, the most evil empire of all time. And these guys are doing they're kid raping, kid eating, fucking satanic fucking eugenicists. And those are documented. It's been proven now. People are just, not saying it enough, but that's what we have. Now people are really accepting that. So I think now is the time to really push. If everybody involved would just push at this, because that 9/11 was where this timeline went dark, straight up. Maybe it was dark before then, but that's where it really went dark. The Patriot Act was written before 9/11, of course. That's the big thing is when they say don't, what is it, Hanlon's razor, where it says don't blame on malice, which can be explained by incompetence. Yeah, but if you keep making the same mistake, and the mistake has a pre-written, like if the unprecedented, once in a lifetime fucking error comes with a pre-written legislation ready to solve the problem, I think it might be malice.
Or possibly just plain insanity. They were just plain insanity in that there are people that, and I've encountered people who were in charge of things, who ran small startup companies, and they have their own little empire, and this is my empire, and they're all just a little bit mad. And I think it skews one's perception of what is allegedly reality. So I kind of chalk it up to madness in a lot of this. And originally the system in America, I think, was supposed to be in such a state to rein in madness, such that at least in George Washington's time and that sort of thing, there would be people who would, in the House of Representatives or anywhere, stand up and say, no, this is wrong, let's not do it. And maybe they get an audience and actually convince somebody. But
I think what we need to do is remove their security. That's the main problem. It's like the House of Representatives, that guy used to have to go back home and explain to his constituents exactly why he did something. Nowadays, you can't get anywhere near them. So they should be like, I'm all for the drone one theory, the drone force one, where they like the president, who's our president, has got to have a camera on 24/7 all the time. This president doesn't really discuss like battle plans, anything like that. That's done by the military, but should have a drone on at all times. Just it might not make people want to run for president, but I don't think people that want to run for president are qualified. I think we should just pick somebody, put a camera on them 24/7, and make them do the job for 6 years. And then when you're done, you have to move back to the same house you're living in with all your neighbors and explain to them all your decisions.
Yeah.
But it should be service. It should be. If people talk about the service they're giving the government, the country, it should be some form of sacrifice. And that would be it. Yeah.
Yep. There's all sorts of squirrely things that have been creeping in. I don't know if you personally know about it, but just as a indication of just how crazy things have gotten, there is actually legislation that is moving through the system that would mandate that automobile makers put into their automobiles a system that would, by some AI project or some means of they're looking at the driver, and if in the perception of the machine the driver is incompetent to run the vehicle, the thing shuts down. I go, Huh? Uh,
Who are the machine? Yeah.
this is what these people think like in our halls of power.
Oh, you know what the GPM chip is, right?
The was that?
The GPM chip, the trusted platform module in your computer.
I'm not familiar with that term. What's that?
Well, okay. There's a group about 15 years ago. This group got together, and they're all competing interests. They're like Microsoft, Hawaii, Google, Facebook, all the tech bros, and all the software and hardware manufacturers got together and created this group called the trusted computing.
Oh, okay, the trusted thing. Yeah. Okay. No.
There's a chip in every device you have, every smart device you have, that tracks everything you do. It identifies your computer by every change, every like software instance, everything. It fingerprints and does registration so it can identify exactly what machine is being used, and it records everything and transmits that information every time you go anywhere online. Anytime you connect, it transmits it all to them. So they have all of your data from that. Most of the cars already have the kill switch installed in them. The legislation is catching up with the industry because they want to have total control. It's a matter of who owns the system. Like when you buy a computer nowadays, you're not buying a computer, you're just licensing a machine that you get to take home. That's all you're doing. They own the computer, so otherwise it would be working for you. Same with cars. That's why I drive a 2002 Honda. It holds up well, and there's no kill switch in it. That's why I build my computers myself.
Yeah, my machine doesn't have this trusted security chip fiasco in it because it's an older machine that's right now running Linux, and some of this is kind of out there. Some of it is not so out there in that I have possibly a state-of-the-art 3 years ago phone that I have. It doesn't go with me every time I leave the house, though. So it's kind of like there's an incomplete picture, and it is that way by design. When I post on the subject online, I tell people Big Brother is a voyeur.
Yes. If it wasn't for the NSA, I wouldn't have sex partners because they're watching. It works.
Oh, shit.
Thank you guys for letting me do this. Yay.
Hey, okay, it's been approximately an hour, and I think we are probably on the verge of wrapping stuff up here. It's been cool. Appreciate the input, and I should buzz off here, and there will be a recording. I'm not too sure how Substack is going to handle this, but I'll try and put the recording in the works. So anyway, have a good one.
You too.
Yep.